Donna Bowling is here, your daily dose of Donna. Okay, this woman is pop culture. I can relate to any pop culture mama, and she's a mama. I love that part too. Donna, you like came on the podcasting scene this year too, and I feel like you exploded, right? How old is Daily Dose?
So Daily Dose is my 4th podcast, but it started in January, and I always joke about this, like literally, well, number one, my first episode was January 6th. Like I could have thought of a better day to start. I know. I'm almost like willing to lie and say January 5th, but it was on a walk. I was like starting the new year, and I was having a moment where I was like, I need to do something that really fills my cup and like gives me a little bit more just joy in life. And so I came home and I was like, I'm going to do a daily podcast. Like no idea what the hell I was getting into. And I'm so glad that I'm an action taker rather than a thinker and overthinker, because I would have probably overthought myself out of doing it, but it was the best decision I could have done.
Oh yeah. Because once you take it on daily, it's a lot. It's a full-time job. Yeah.
It's crazy. And I do it all myself. I mean, now I'm getting a little bit more help slowly, but I do it all myself. I did have podcast knowledge that did help, but yeah, I really, and I've been figuring it out. You know, it's one of those things where 9 months, 10 months into it, and I'm just still figuring it all out.
Oh my, look, I'm like 8 years in. I'm still figuring it out. Like
I don't think we'll ever figure it out.
I mean, it's still such a media kind of like genre that's in its infancy. You know, I don't think, right? We've seen Spotify like do these big deals and then they've pulled back. And, you know, I don't know. You've had these podcast companies start. Not sure they're going great. It's hard to know where it's headed, you know?
Yeah, I personally grew up listening to talk radio in my mom's car and hated every second of it. And I remember like feeling like talk radio made me nauseous sitting in the backseat of my mom's car in LA traffic. But now that I'm an adult, maybe it was also who she was listening to, because it wasn't like pop culture. It wasn't
like, Howard Stern, right? You weren't listening.
No, I feel like it was like Dennis Prager or something like that. It was like some real boring like NPR stuff. But now it's all I want is to listen to people talk in my ears. I love music and I'm always going to love music. But when I'm on a walk, when I'm doing my dishes, when I'm driving, I want a podcast or like a talk radio, something of that sense. So more and more of us are out there. It's nice that you can multitask while listening to podcasts. That's why TV is hard to watch. It's like hard to find the time.
It is. And you're right. You can take your podcast everywhere. I'm with you. I mean, I did grow up listening to Howard Stern, so I was obsessed with Howard. And I don't even know Don Imus. I'm not even sure how. I guess that was like.
I remember that was his like big enemy. Wasn't Don Imus like? Yeah, they hated one another.
Then Don had this like very famous show on MSNBC for a hot second. Howard was on E. It was so great.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. I grew up watching. I mean, I remember reading the Private Parts book. Like amazing. On vacation with my family. I don't even know. I was probably 10. I don't know how in the world our parents let us live the way we did as kids.
Oh, I know. Very, very little supervision. And now I'm like raising a son in Los Angeles and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to let him like take his bike down the block? Do you let your boys any freedom? Yeah.
Well, like I let my kids like scooter around, but like on the sidewalk. And if they want to go around the corner, I'm like, guess we're going on a dog walk. Like, I don't know. You can't trust anything anymore. This world is going to shit.
It is going to shit. All right. Well, before we talk about the world going to shit, wait, I was like doing all my research on you. Now, did you work in radio? Were you at Sirius XM for a period of time? Or did you?
I've been on Sirius as a guest because I've guested with Amy Phillips on her show before, but I've never had like radio was not my thing. I was a casting director. So I worked in the TV world for years and years and years. And then I was an agent, but I've always had like that gift of gab, I would say. And when I was 7, my mom got me a tape recorder, like with an actual tape. And I still have it right there. And I listen to it every once in a while because I hear myself, my 7-year-old podcasting, walking through my neighborhood, like with a tape recorder, like, and then there's my neighbor and look at that car that's driving. So I was always just a talker.
Well, you made like a seamless transition, which I think is really hard for people when because I'm sure you get this. I know you do podcast consulting. I mean, I get people that are like, I want to start a podcast. And it's like, great, but have you ever done any talking? Like, are you a big talker? Can you talk by yourself? Can you talk to yourself? I mean, it's like,
It's a very, I think
do it
not
well.
everyone can have a podcast. And I hate to say that because I think everyone should try to have a podcast. The best thing is to do is to try it. And that's in any industry. But whenever you see that every single reality star now has a podcast and every single, person in marketing has a podcast, it's true. Some people just don't have that. To keep someone listening, especially when you're doing a solo episode, you really have to have an ability to have a conversation with yourself and also the energy. Like we need that energy. There's nothing worse than listening to a monotone podcast. Do you know who could not have a podcast right now?
Oh,
Is Gary from The Golden Bachelor. I don't know if you watch it or if
I'm
you've
watching.
seen any.
My
I love
husband and I
him.
are watching. We're obsessed.
I love him, but
monotone.
I've decided he's AI. I don't think he's a real human being. And I think that what's happening is like, he's like, I love this family. I love these women here. I'm having a time of my life. Isn't this grand? Like he's so just like one note. Why are you leaving? It is so sad to see that you're leaving me. We had a connection. So like if he had a podcast, I probably wouldn't tune in. No offense, Gary.
Sorry, Gary. He might be good for ASMR, like, or talk space at night. Like he'd put me to sleep for meditation.
That's exactly. He's great for like, now close your eyes and go to sleep.
Do you miss doing casting directing at all? Or are you like, fuck that, I'm a full-time pop culture podcaster?
You know what? It's so funny. I had a partner doing it when we worked together. Her name is Brandy and she and I are still friendly and she misses it every day. And I look back and I say, it was a really great experience. And I don't miss it for a second. The industry is so tricky. Like the best parts about what I did were being on set. I loved to see the final result. And I also loved making people's dreams come true and giving them that news like, oh my gosh. The problem I worked a lot with kids, especially at the beginning. So we did a lot of Disney and Nickelodeon, discovered a lot of Disney stars. And the thing that happened was as we got into it longer and longer, more and more studios and networks, they got so many more like cooks in the kitchen. And by the time we finished casting, we couldn't cast a one line on a sitcom. Like that's called a co-star or like an under 5. This is someone like the girl in the coffee shop that says your espresso's ready, like a nothing role. We couldn't cast that without getting like 25 people's approval. And it became way too much. So the industry changed. And I think unfortunately, I didn't enjoy it at the end. That's for sure. Casting is one of those jobs that it's a really, really challenging job because you're going through all the bad. Think about that. You're just weeding through all the bad talent to get that one good. And when you find the good, it's amazing, but it's like being like a treasure hunter or like one of those,
you are a treasure
miners
hunter.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mindless work.
It really is, right? And it's harder than you think to find these people, especially for reality shows. Like people everywhere you go, everyone's like, my family should be on a reality show. They all say that, but then once you spend more than an hour with them, like you Zoom interview them, you're like, all right, well, is this it? Like, I mean, we can't it's much harder than people think, right? Because you almost need somebody that's not aware. You need a Mary Cosby.
Okay, so like here, oh my God, Mary on Salt Lake City is the best reality star. And I know some people that are like, she's so mean. I'm like, she's amazing on TV. But I do think that the difference is, I don't know. Did you watch Love is Blind this last season?
No, I watched like season 1 and part of season 2, but I've just stopped watching. Because I know you feel this. I have so much TV to watch.
Too much.
I can't take on another thing. So
I get it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about like Welcome to Plathville. Everyone tells me to watch it or like all the 90 Day Fiancés. I can't. I just don't have it in my like abilities. But I will tell you on Love is Blind, I saw something that I have never seen on a reality show where this one guy, because we've all seen good cast and bad cast and or good casting, I should say, and bad casting. And it really does make the difference on a reality show because you don't have a script. I mean, you may have like some talking points, but you don't have a script. So it really does come down to the talent. And on Love is Blind this last season, there was a guy, now I can't remember if it's JP or JT. I think it's JP. And he gets through the pods, the whole process is you fall in love in the pods, you propose, and then you meet in public or like in person, and then you go off to like Mexico or whatever for your honeymoon, or like your vacation before you plan the wedding. So this guy is so sweet in the pods. He's chatting, he's friendly, he's lovely. He proposes. He meets the girl. She's adorable. It seems great, awkward, but great. They go off to Mexico and the guy literally becomes a mute. He does not say a word. And the entire time that they're there, she's like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you talking to me? Is it the way I look? Is it the way? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. He cannot and should not have ever been cast on a reality show. I don't know how in the world this passed. So we were all talking about that over on my show, because it's like, it's not, you don't see that often. Usually when someone is on a show, they're like ready to go, but it's so hard. Think about it. Cameras are in your face and all of a sudden you're supposed to be who you are and act as you normally do. That's almost impossible. Even with our phones, when you put the phone out, we all of a sudden act different.
And don't you think it's getting harder because people see, they know we're 20 years in basically to reality TV. So they know they're going to be dissected on social media. They know their job is going to be watching. So I do think lots of times you almost see when people become self-aware, they're being filmed on a well-known show, and then they like completely change.
Yeah, no, I really do think it's got to be really challenging. I didn't ever cast reality. I only casted scripted, but my husband is a reality camera operator and DP, director of photography. He's working on shows like Dancing with the Stars right now. He's on Dancing, which by the way, like, it's so fun to get the inner scoop about like Mauricio and Ariana.
What's going on with Mauricio? Right.
I mean, him and I have so many interesting, funny things to talk about with this guy, but he, he comes home and he tells me like about some of the cast that he works with. But then again, like going back to Golden Bachelor, here you have like all these women that are just like normal for the most part, 60 and up women, and they're making good TV, and it's boring for the most part, but it's good TV. So I don't know. It's got to be some sort of magic to make good reality TV.
It's magic. They did a great job on the Golden Bachelor. And it's a little refreshing. I mean, I'm a bachelor, like I've popped in and out, but there's some of those people you can tell are there. And you see this all the time on 90 Day is famous for this. I mean, people just come on, they're musicians. They're there to promote their, products, and they're not really, they're good TV, but you can also tell what they're doing. I mean, I think what the charm of the Golden Bachelor is these women are 70. They're not there hawking their business. They're trying to really find, like, could I spend the next decade with this man?
It feels genuine. Even Gary, the Bachelor, didn't even really have social media when he started. So it's not coming from a place of like trying to get famous. That part is really lovely. I really do wish that we could get more of that. Unfortunately, every single show on every single network now is a way to boost your Instagram followers.
I know. Well, believe me, I'm like, fuck, I should have gone on Married at First Sight. What was I thinking before I married my husband?
Is that the one you would choose? That's the one?
Well, I do a lot of work with them in Lifetime. Like I was just on their kickoff show. And so now I kind of know it, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to see who the matchmakers would pay. Like, would they ever match me with someone like their husband, like with my husband? Like, who would fix me? I want to know who, because they spend a lot of time with you, and you go through this psychological evaluation and everything, and then they hook you up with someone they think is going to be your match. And I mean, it only works like 20%.
So it's basically like it's a TV show. I've never watched Married at First Sight, so it's like a TV show that is basically online dating.
Yeah. And you know what? You'll appreciate this. Kinetic Productions, which does Love is Blind, also does Married at First Sight. So it has,
interesting.
Has some like have
you heard of Naked Attraction?
Yes, I've watched.
I have not seen it. Should I?
Donna, you got to watch. I mean, you'll never look at so many dicks in your life.
Stop.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's the best. Dicks, vaginas, and they get in detail. They make them turn around. They rate their butt cheeks. They rate.
Do they have to bend over and stuff? This is okay. Is this on? It's on HBO, right? Like
on HBO.
It's definitely not for kids. But my friend said that he watched it on Saturday night with his wife, and he's like, shockingly, Naked Attraction did not set the mood. Like it wasn't sexy.
No, it's not sexy. I think it's because we're programmed to like see people with clothes on. So when you see them nude, it's like you realize how unattractive the human body is. And there's
so many problems with it.